Howdy partners, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Hello, my name is Alex, and today I wanted to do a very quick little December reset / November wrap up. I don't have a lot to reset this month. Pretty much the only thing that I have to put in here is redoing my content calendar and kind of going over some housekeeping things and some potential end of the year reads. But as usual, I've done no planning whatsoever for anything, and we're just gonna wing it. Okay, so I very loosely have an idea of how many books potentially I want to get in this month, and it's a little ambitious. So this is arbitrary. I am only saying this as something to keep myself accountable, and I like to challenge myself from year to year to see how many books I can read. I don't read just for, first of all, I don't think any of us have to justify anything that we do or don't do on the internet. Let's start there. Second of all, I don't say this to say that I read books just for the sake of hitting a goal or reading the most amount of books I possibly can. My number one preferred way to stress relieve, to quell my anxiety, to enjoy my time is to read. I don't drink anymore. I don't really go out that much except to like the bookstore and to get coffee, sometimes the movies and food. I stay home and read and talk to you guys about it. So I have as much time as I can give myself, I give to reading. I do also listen to a lot of audiobooks. And again, that's all I have to say about that. I don't have to justify what I do, just like you don't have to justify what you do. Back to my arbitrary goal. If I read 24 books by the end of the year, so in the month of December, it's December 1st while I'm filming this, by the 31st, if I read 24 more books, I will hit around 250 books read for the year. That would be a personal best for me. I think last year was the most I had read. Every year I've seemed to have progressively made more time for reading, which I think is great. So last year I think I read like 215, maybe 214. I can't remember exactly what it was. So I have already at 226 hit an all-time like books read for the year for me, but I just think 250 sounds a lot better. So I am gonna try to get 24 books in this month. And I do think it will be a problem in the sense that I don't know when I'm gonna do it. I don't know when I'm gonna have the time. My reading has slowed down a little bit. I only read 16 books in November, which is still great. I'm not complaining about that. So that's the number goal. Do I have an idea of what I want to read? Yes. I am in just a dark fantasy, romantasy, horror. I just want dark. I don't want cute Christmas romance. I don't want anything festive. I am very just bah humbug right now, but in like a positive way, because I just want to read some like dark things. For example, I read If We Were Villains. I read some fantasy. I read a thriller in November. So that's just the mood that I'm in. And actually, after I film this, I am going to be starting the last book in the Empire of the Vampire series. So Empire of the Dawn by J. Kristoff just came out, and I'm going to be filming that for another weekly reading vlog. So that's a huge dark fantasy book about vampires. Like that's the mood that I am in for December. And I have plenty of those options on the shelves. So I don't really have a TBR. I do plan on making a TBR jar and doing some sort of like a prompt challenge starting in 2026, but I just didn't get around to it for this video. So I'm just gonna put what I have out there and we're gonna enjoy it. So for the reset portion of things, that is my broad statement about what we're doing for the end of the year. As far as reading plans go, they're loose. We have a genre, we have a mood, and we have a number. Let's see how it goes. I do also I'm not participating in Bookmas or Vlogmas because I just was not prepared in any way, shape, or form, but I do want to post 6 videos this month, which is a lot more than what I usually do, which is 3 to 4 in a month. So for me, I'm gonna say good job, and I hope you guys enjoy what I get out there this month. But for now, enjoy this footage of me redoing my content calendar, because that is the only reset footage that I got for this video, and then we'll be back for the November wrap up. So let's just get into it. I have been trying to do my wrap-ups as part of like a monthly reset instead of just a video on their own. So please let me know in the comments if you enjoy it. I do hope to come up with better reset footage in 2026. I like to go in chronological order. I like to talk about the books in the order that I read them. So first things first, I read The Exorcist by William Peter Blatty, and this was so good. I love the movie. It's a classic for a reason, but this book should also be a classic for a reason. It was so atmospheric. It was so darkly funny, like very funny. The priest in this is hilarious and in just like a very 70s, 80s way. I think it's very fun getting to know Reagan's mom a little bit better than we do in the movie, and just the actual like scary scenes, very well written, very creepy. The demonic tie-in with Pazuzu was great, and if you don't think this is just one of the scariest, coolest, best covers of all time, let alone in a horror book, look, it's me. You are crazy. Okay, love this. 4 stars. Am I ever going to stop giving star ratings? I don't know. I have to figure out how. Okay, next one was Crafting for Sinners by Jenny Kiefer. This book is following a young lady that is in a relationship with another woman in a very small knit town. And this is basically kind of poking fun a little bit at a craft store. In this one, it has a different name. I don't remember what it is, but it's kind of emulating the Christian run one that some of us perhaps frequent. I'm not saying it so I don't get copyrighted or some crazy ass shit. But this book is kind of turning that concept into occult horror. And while the body horror in this was very good, I think calling it Crafting for Sinners and then kind of having the knitting plot for the main character take a back seat kind of ruined that aspect of it a little bit for me. And it was kind of drawn out with nothing really going on. It was just kind of like the same repetitive scenes over and over and themes, but the body horror was really good. So I gave this one 3 stars. It's a maybe for me, dog, but I feel like probably a lot of people would like it. I don't recommend it. It just wasn't my favorite for what I thought it was going to give me. These next 2 books I do have some beef with, and I'll tell you why. So I finished out the Foundryside trilogy by reading Shorefall, which is book 2, and Lachlan's book 3 by Robert Jackson Bennett. And I loved book 1, Foundryside, and book 2, Shorefall. They were visceral 5 stars for me. And then Lachlan's was probably one of the worst endings to a series of any series. Like, we're talking, this was Game of Thrones last 2 seasons bad for me. It felt like we were reading a book written by an entirely different author. The plot went in a direction that I did not like. There was a big writing mechanism. I don't want to say what it is because I don't want to spoil anything. It is book 3 in a trilogy, and I do still recommend this trilogy. Just know that book 3 might throw you off a little bit. It was following characters in a way, shape, and form that I didn't like. My buddy read this with my friend Olivia, and she felt the exact same way as I did. I gave it a 3 star in Goodreads, but honestly it was like a 2.5 just because of how depressing it was to wonder what happened to the amazing writing and magic system and found family cast of characters that we got in books 1 and 2. But again, I love this author and I do still really enjoy books 1 and 2. I still would recommend this trilogy because it was still really good. If any of you have read this and you have some feelings about book 3, please let me know. I would love to chat about it. The next book I read is Between Two Fires by Christopher Buehlman. This is a very fever dreamy book following a disgraced knight who meets up with a young girl that may be an angel or maybe a devil, and then a priest in the 1300s during the Crusades, and the plague is going around, and you just don't know if angels and demons are real or if it's just the horrors of being in 1300s plagued France. This book was unlike anything that I have ever read before. I don't even have really like a good way to describe it. I think that synopsis I gave it was more than enough, and going into this book blind will do you a service. I have read one other book by this author called I've read 2 other books by this author, The Black Tongue Thief, which is the first in a series, and then The First Daughter's War, which is a prequel to the first book in that series. And I gave those 4 and 3 stars respectively, but Between Two Fires is a 5 star objectively. It is such a well-written, unique, moving, just beautiful book, and I think this author has a lot of range, and I want more people to read him. Famous by Blake Crouch. Okay, so I read this one because I saw Gabby, I will link her channel down below, from Gabby Reads, talking about it, reading it, raving about it on her channel, and I have read almost every Blake Crouch and have loved almost every single one of them. This one, it just did not land for me. I thought thought it was really good up until the last like 10 to 20%, and then it went in a direction and kind of wrapped up in a way that I just didn't like or understand. At its most basic level, it is following our main character Lancelot, who basically looks exactly like a famous celebrity in this make-believe world, and he abandons his whole life to try to emulate and pose as this guy. But he's obviously there's some sociopathic, maybe psychopathic behavior going on, and I kept thinking, you know, what could possibly, because it's only 191 pages, I kept thinking I knew what would happen, and then it just kept surprising me in a good way until it was in a bad way. So for me, this one was a 3-star. I don't necessarily recommend it. If you're gonna read Blake Crouch, please start with Dark Matter, Recursion, Wayward Pines trilogy. I don't know, it was still enjoyable. It was a quick read, but I just think this author has much better books. Next book I read is The Devil Aspect by Craig Russell. I talked about this in one of my other vlogs, but this one was really good. I gave it 4 stars, and it is following our main character Victor, who is a psychiatrist going to 1900s Prague, to a castle that has been turned into a prison, psychiatric hold type of situation for 6 patients called the Devil's Six, who are just supposed to be Europe's most depraved 6 criminals. And we have Victor trying to understand if they have something within them called the devil aspect, which is what he is referring to as just like inexplicable mental illness. Are these folks really possessed? And it has a lot of twists and turns. It relies heavily on possession versus mental health, which I think is an enjoyable trope if it is used well, and it is in this book. So I really enjoyed it, and I definitely recommend the audio. Very, very good audiobook. The next book I read is House of Monstrous Women by Daphne Fama. I borrowed this one from the library. It has to go back ASAP, but this one was just okay. It's following our main character Josephine, who goes back to an island. She is from the Philippines, and she goes to an island where her friend from her childhood friend has moved back to, and she is from a family of witches and kind of like almost like a coven, if you will. And there's rumors about them that they eat children and just like kind of like dark and mysterious. And it turns into kind of this massive game of hide and seek in this creepy house, but it just didn't work for me. The creepy house vibes weren't totally there for me, although I do enjoy that it was a horror set in a new setting. I've never read a horror in the Philippines. This was just like mixing a lot of different things. The politics thread I don't think was strong enough, and overall it read a little YA, which it might be a YA. I'm not 100% sure, but for how great the cover is, it just didn't completely hit for me. I still gave it 3 stars, and if you don't mind a little YA, this kind of gives like an escape room type of a vibe with a little bit of witchiness thrown in as well. This chonker. Some of you, again, probably saw this in one of my other reading vlogs, but I reread 11/22/63 by Stephen King. This is a fever dream, 800 and something page fever dream about a guy who can time travel through a portal in a diner, and he's going to prevent the assassination of JFK. Obviously, there is a lot happening in this besides that very basic premise, and I will say that rereading it this time around, I gave it 5 stars the first time, more like a 3.54 for me. It's way too long, and we focused a lot on Jake and Sadie, and for some reason it didn't work for me this time around. It was like, okay, we get it. You guys are in love. Let's get to something else. But still one of Stephen King's better books, obviously, and I enjoyed getting a reread, and I actually got 2 rereads in this month. We'll talk about the other one later. This book is a disappointment, okay? Let's just start off there, because Slash Beauties by A. Rushby is one of the best covers that I've ever seen. I love the colorway. The naked book is also the light pink and the black. I love everything about it. The content, not great. This was so disappointing to me because just the little blurb at the top of the synopsis is incredible. It's a gothic feminist body horror in 2 timelines revolving around 3 anatomical Venuses, ultra realistic wax figures of women that come to life at night to murder men who have wronged them. And this was a 2-star. I thought that this was pretty poorly written. It was very basic. It relied really heavily on colloquialisms and like just phrases that would not exist in the 1700s, like my person. I've read Regency, and this is not giving Regency. And we didn't focus nearly enough on the like horror, witchy, serial killer, wax figurines bit of it. It was more about kind of like the murder mystery part of it. I don't know. This couldn't figure out what it wanted to be, and it's just really unfortunate because it has a great premise. And I read through the reviews on Goodreads, and I wasn't the only one. And unfortunately, I had to dig this out of my donate bag. That's how immediate I was like, I'm not keeping this. in any way, shape, or form on my shelves. And then we go to a 5-star, Atmosphere by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is, I know, one of like the Goodreads books of the year. I did get my hold finally the other day, and I blasted through this. The audiobook was fantastic. Julia Whalen, who is like an all-time audiobook narrator, and it is dual, but she does most of it, which I enjoyed. This is following 2 females in the 1980s that become astronauts for NASA and fall in love and have to juggle those 2 kind of parts of their lives. And this was so devastating, so full of tension and romance and friendship and found family and feminism. Really, really good. Had me gripped until the absolute very end. Tears were involved. Honestly, this is on a level of like Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, which has been unmatched for me. I think Atmosphere might be up there with that book, and also Daisy Jones and the Sick, obviously. Next up, we have With a Vengeance by Riley Sager. This is essentially a retelling of Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie, and I've never even read that book, and I can tell you that. I finally got around to this one because I've had it all year since it came out, I think earlier this summer, and I've been meaning to get to it just to say that I have completed his backlog. Except for one, I don't think I've gotten to The Last Time I Lied. I didn't care for this one. I gave it 3 stars just to give it 3 stars, but it didn't do anything fun, fresh, or exciting for me. It follows a woman gathering a bunch of people that she doesn't like on a train, and they start getting unalived, and you have to figure out who it is. This has been done so many times. I don't think it brought anything new to the trope, and I'm still gonna buy Riley Sager. He's an auto-buy author for me, but I'm just interested to see if he comes out with a book next summer and what its content will be in comparison to this. I personally prefer his paranormal, touching, adjacent books, so again, I'm interested to see what he comes out with next year. Didn't love this one. Furyborn by Claire Legrand. This is book 1 in a trilogy. I own all 3 of them. I found them on my Kindle, which is great, and I really liked this. Following 2 female main characters in this same world, but living on opposite sides of the sea and 1,000 years apart. One of them is Riel. She's in the older timeline, and then our younger character in the more recent timeline is Eliana. And this book definitely has some pacing issues, but I thought the world building was pretty good. There is romance, but it's not at the forefront. Trials, but it's not like your typical trials, so I did enjoy that. And this was also definitely like a very much a build-up book, I think, for what we're gonna get in the rest of the series, so books 2 and 3. And I'm really excited to get to them. I gave it 4 stars. I have another book by this author, I think A Crown of Ivy and something. I'm actually really excited to get to it after I finish this series because I did enjoy this author's fantasy romance writing. Are you gonna tell this cat to move? Because I'm not. Very soft, very petite, very sweet. Okay. Also, my camera's gonna die, so we only have 3 books left. This is absurd, but 3 books left. If We Were Villains by ML Rio. I loved this. I annotated it. I read it in November, because this is my November wrap up. This was the perfect blend of mystery, of romance, of dark academia, of Shakespeare, which is random. So this is following a group of frenemies at an academy of the arts. They are thespians, and they specifically only do Shakespeare to the point where they can quip back and forth and like banter with each other using Shakespeare quotes, which I think is so fun and fresh. And what this book does really well is not take all the focus and put it on the Shakespearean aspect of it or like the fact that they're actors. It does obviously play into the story a lot because is our narrator reliable? We do kind of figure out early on that he is talking to us from jail, so we're kind of going backwards to see what happened. I really enjoyed this and I tabbed it, and I'm really pleased with how these tabs came out. So this was a 4.5. I loved this. It wasn't quite a 5-star, but I loved it and definitely would recommend. I think honestly, again, I'm in like in a dark mood right now, and books like this, The Secret History by Donna Tartt, which I will be reading next week with my friend Jessica, this is the kind of vibe that I am looking for right now. The next book that I read is Direbound by Sable Sorensen. This has been talked about all year long. I'm pretty late to the game. I think it came out earlier this year, but I really enjoyed this. I just finished it a couple of days ago, Buddy Read with Allie, and now I did give it 3 stars, but it's a good 3 stars because, okay, it lost points for me because it was like tropey to the point it was like one right after the other, and that was a little in your face. I think Marin as our main character is kind of just there right now. We're not getting a ton from her, and some of the reveals were a little obvious, but I am here for my boy Stark. So very excited for book 2. I think comes out early, like spring 2026. I did enjoy this one, and it's available on Kindle Unlimited, although I do like the cover. I walked by the paperback at Barnes & Noble and I'm always like, I might pick up a copy because I did actually enjoy the map. So I don't know, maybe 3.5 stars. I'll circle back to that for book 2. Okay, last book that I read in the month of November. I just finished this on audio yesterday. This is my reread of The Silver Blood Promise by James Logan. 5-star the first time. I will find the video and link it somewhere on the screen of when I originally read this in 2024. I loved it even more this time around. So I decided to reread this because book 2, The Blackfire Blade, came out November 4th, I think, and I want to go pick up a copy this week and read it and get to it. Haven't seen a ton of people talking about it, so I haven't been spoiled, not even like a rating. So if you are looking for a darkly comedic fantasy with a very nice little touch of magic that I think we're going to get more of in books 2 and 3, political intrigue, found family, The Last of Us, father figure, daughter, orphan type of a vibe, this right here, you're going to want to read it. And with that, those are the 16 books that I read in the month of November. Thank you if you watched this flimsy little December reset. I did enjoy putting it together real quick. Please like this video and subscribe. It'll really help out my channel so we can talk to more people about more books. And with that, thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye.